All right, friends, in studio with us, I'm thrilled to have from the city of Fargo, the one and the only Dan Mahli. Dan, good morning. Great to have you on air with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Dan is feeling a little uncomfortable right now because those of you listening on radio, we also video our program here. And in order to do so, to get in one frame, we kind of cuddle a little bit. And you weren't expecting to cuddle, were you?
I wasn't. Our shoulders are touching.
It feels safe and uncomfortable all the same. Dan,
Totally.
What is it that you do with the city of Fargo?
So I'm a community development administrator. We work a lot with work in older neighborhoods, work with neighborhood groups. Frankly, we do a lot of work with the social infrastructure. So cultural groups, neighborhood groups, associations. All kinds of. We've got a youth initiative. The work with a lot of the great people that live in Fargo-Moorhead.
And how long have you been with the city of Fargo?
So I was one of 4 young planners that were hired in 2000, so 16 years.
That's kind of a legacy you're starting to leave here.
I don't know. Yeah, I wonder if they know what to do with me. So I'm the last one left.
We all wonder just a little bit. Dan, so you've been there 16 years. What did you see back in 2000 compared to what you're seeing today?
Oh my, that's a great question. Boy, it was a much different community. Frankly, we weren't even at 90,000 folks. We're in the city of Fargo alone. We're at 120,000, close to 120,000. And so the city looked quite a bit different. The growth area was, if you could picture the homes that were built 15 years ago, that was it. So Amber Valley, south of 32nd.
Every twin home in the world has been built here in Fargo in the last 15 years or so, and every apartment building and
literally the land has doubled. The center of the city is close to I-94 right now.
It is. Wow. You're a Fargo native, aren't you, Dan?
Correct.
So you grew up here, and north side, south side?
South side.
And now it's like north, south, or way south you have to describe it as, right? And I get the privilege of driving people all around town when I do community tours for Sanford. And I always talk about how Fargo has started to sprawl in quite a ways and the growth that's happened. And in the last 16 years, it's been different than the city that you grew up in or that I grew up in, right? How do you describe to people who aren't a part of Fargo what Fargo's like?
Let's see here. Well, the way we grew as cities changed. I mean, it's all over the country. And so, Fargo's a series of great neighborhoods and great homes. The cost of living is relatively low. I'll be totally honest. It is, folks that live in poverty have a really hard time with the costs. But relatively, one of the things we prided ourselves is this is a place where a young family can purchase and live in a home and live in a great neighborhood. We've been fighting a little harder for that over the last few years, frankly, and we could talk about that, but we're trying to maintain that.
Well, those of you just tuning in, we have Dan Mahli with the city of Fargo talking about the great growth that we have in the neighborhoods that we're proud to call our own. Do you have a favorite neighborhood, Dan?
No.
Because you would ostracize every other neighborhood by choosing that, right? Well, I grew up in the Holes district.
Okay.
I grew up by Hope Lutheran Church in North Fargo, and then lived in the ICO edition up past that. So if you knew where the sewer plant was, that was my hood.
Great.
Right?
Yes.
But then my wife and I, we had our first house in the El Zagel district, otherwise known as Holes in North Fargo. Man, there's some character in some of those houses, isn't there?
That's just it. We're in the Clara Barton neighborhood, and so there is an older, affordable housing stock that we have in the city that we just will never build again, that we've been really working hard to preserve and maintain. The schools have been a great part of it. We've kept those schools open in those older neighborhoods.
How?
And so,
because there's not turnover in those neighborhoods to bring in new families all the time. How have you kept those schools open?
So we had clever. We had, to be totally honest, our community is one that when an issue comes up, we nip it in the bud. I believe that defines who we are, is that we address issues together. And so, this is an interesting story. So in 2000, so when we started, literally, the schools in the city were struggling. We had this idea of a downtown revitalization, that we could change the momentum of downtown, and then we had an idea of these older neighborhoods this older affordable housing stock that we really will never build again. That we want to preserve it and convert it back. It was in a spiral, what they call a spiral of disinvestment, and so
say that again.
it's a spiral of disinvestment, and so it happens in neighborhoods. It's something from our old sociology classes, right?
Right.
And so you've got the broken windows, and so if there's a broken window on one on the block, you want to repair that window, and then other folks will help fix it up. And so we wanted to interrupt that, and we wanted to use a culture of experimentation. And so we were young and having a lot of fun with neighborhood revitalization. And so what was great is we came up with a program that at the time was quite innovative. And do we need a break?
No, you're great.
Okay,
Keep on going,
great.
my friend.
Okay, I never know if I'm talking too long. And so, at the time, say Horace Mann and Hawthorne School, there were 32 kids in the kindergarten, which is hard to even keep one section alive and two. And so, but the schools, interestingly enough, agreed to pair if the city made some significant investments in those older neighborhoods. So at the time, we offered 2% loans to improve older homes. We offered down payment assistance, $5,000 to get in.
Free money.
At that time, it really was for folks to come in. And then what was really interesting is we had offered a $200 a month for 3 years, a child care voucher to attract families in.
What? Sign me up. I got 2 kids. How
Isn't
do I
that
get
the
this?
truth? And then all of a sudden, some of these older homes started coming around. We've done over 1,000 projects, partnerships in the older neighborhoods.
Oh, my gosh.
And what's really great is
Dan,
this year at Hawthorne, they were talking about possibly doing 4 sections of kindergarten.
That's all under the radar, isn't it? Like these improvements, these we don't see them on the next HGTV show. We don't see them in the forum. These are things that are happening quietly, aren't they?
They really are. I mean, these happen. Our motto, we say one house at a time. So every project we do, we've got a relationship with the homeowner, but they're on every single block, and you can feel it in those neighborhoods.
Dan, I want to keep talking. We're going to go to break here in just a second, so stick around. Folks tuning in, let's find out what your home is worth. Old neighborhood, new neighborhood, anywhere in between. Head to livefargomoorhead.com. Check out your home's value. This is Real Estate Radio with Erik Hatch. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio. As always, I'm your host, Erik Hatch, and in studio with us still from the city of Fargo, the one, the only Dan Mahli. Dan, tell us about your family, because you have at least a mom who is a fantastic woman.
Yeah.
And hopefully she's tuning in right now. But tell us about your family.
Absolutely. She's an Irish mom, Irish boys and their mothers. So what can you say?
Yeah.
She helped start the St. Patrick's Parade in Fargo-Moorhead. We've been doing it for over 20 years.
Wow.
I love to see her smile. And she married my dad, who was actually from Nazareth. He's
Really?
a Nazarene. Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
Mm-hmm. A Palestinian refugee.
Oh my gosh, there's not too many of those around
Yeah,
Fargo.
he was in a community. There were Christians, of course, and there were 90,000 in 1947 and 1948. 80,000 of them had moved, and he was one of them. And so we found a home in Fargo. We're happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, that's great. And been with the city of Fargo now since the year 2000, right?
Correct.
What did you do before that?
Let's see here, ran the Chamber of Commerce in Park Rapids, the Chamber and Convention and Visitors Bureau for a couple of years, and then I was with Senator Byron Dorgan before that in graduate school and all that.
Wow. Where'd you go to school?
Minnesota, North Dakota State, and then Minnesota.
Okay. Go Bison. We record today on Wednesday, but the show airs on Sunday. So I don't know if I'm excited or not for what happens Friday night. But
I know.
We'll find out. I always want to talk about the Bison on the show, and I don't get the chance to because I don't know if they won or lost the day before.
Yeah.
But anyways, I wanted to talk.
Well, let's just say they won.
Yeah.
Or no, we'll jinx it.
No, thanks for ruining it if they lose. But otherwise, you are a prophet, my friend. Dan, what do you, if you are indeed a prophet, what do you predict for Fargo? Because we've had, you said from the year 2000 until today, about 30,000 people added to our community. Is that right?
Yes.
What do you predict for the next 10 or 15 years?
So our growth is going to be led by seniors, these baby boomers, a lot of them. We're going to grow over 100%. These are folks that are over 65. We've been anticipating for a long time.
But
so
the
that
average
housing
age
need.
of people in Fargo is like 31, isn't it?
So there's the young families. And that was the one, frankly, in 2005 that we didn't anticipate. Earlier, we were talking about how we were going to attract young people to the state. And there were folks between 2005 and 2010, they were in their mid-20s to mid-30s, and they decided to stick around. And they have a lot of kids. Practice makes pregnant. And so if you talk to Dr. Schatz, the level, the enrollment levels at the middle school and the high school are pretty steady. But there are a ton of kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth graders. They are on the way.
And I think West Fargo even shows that more. They don't have as much infrastructure as what Fargo does, but they have to shift and redraw lines every week, it seems, to figure out where to put all the kids.
Correct. Yeah, and these populations are very mobile. It's not like when we went to school where a kid was there for the whole year. So we've got kids coming in and coming out. But the other thing the thing that I keep in mind is that our neighborhoods historically were built around schools and places of worship. Mm-hmm. So they're around our churches. So it's critical, and I give Fargo a lot of credit. The city, the people that live in Fargo, the credit for investing in those schools, keeping those neighborhood schools in place, and those places of worship, those churches are still pretty strong. We have a lot of great neighborhood churches.
Great insight. Again, those of you tuning in, Dan Mahli with the City of Fargo joining us in studio. And Dan, what's the biggest problem that we're facing right now with our neighborhoods, with our infrastructure, with our people?
What is the biggest issue that we face? Traffic. It's interesting when you're at City Hall. If we go there today, they'll be talking about parking every time. I don't know how it comes down to parking and traffic all the time, but it does. I think investing in the properties and making sure that they fit the needs of the families that we need. So in these older neighborhoods where, say, there may be a single stall garage, and families want more stalls. They may want 2. They may want 3 stall garages.
Most every buyer wants at least 3 bathrooms because they want to have a master bathroom if that's the infrastructure of the house, and they want probably 3 garage stalls. We're getting bigger. We have more stuff. It's keeping up with the Joneses a little bit.
So I think moving along, amending, changing some of our land use codes so it fits what our community is and how it's growing. It's really interesting when you look at the old maps. When you look at the map before, say, 1952, neighborhoods were a lot different, and then post car, and so we really build around cars. We have to adjust to that and still create these places that are walkable, that are mixed, where people can still walk and get a cup of coffee with their family. It seems like people are looking for that sort of thing.
Are you expecting a population influx to continue? I had heard something along the lines of this Fargo-Moorhead community adding 5,000 people a year consistently. Do you expect that to continue?
I do. Yeah, I mean, at least the trend shows that our population growth is accelerating, meaning that it doesn't go up and down. It has grown steadily. And so by 2020, we anticipate in Fargo close to 130,000 people.
Where are we putting them?
That's the question.
Yeah, isn't it?
Well, and then the needs of the folks. And then what's also interesting is the type of housing that we're constructing. Right now, we're 56% renter occupied, 44% owner occupied, and the trend
is
leading.
I can tell.
You can see it. Yep. And so, and then we're trending towards 58, 42. I still believe that owning your own home is part of the American dream, and that you should have that opportunity. So this year, which is really fantastic, some of the developers, some of the folks, the requests, lots are getting a little smaller. The value of the properties, the permits to build new homes is a little lower. So I give the home builders credit for trying to adjust and do what it takes.
And that's actually surprising because I think the perception that people have is that things are just getting bigger and more expensive, but it seems like builders are listening to where the demand is. Now, I want to finish with this, Stan. If somebody wants to get into a home, if they want to invest in a home, or if they already own a home in an older neighborhood, there are options for them to save some cash as they improve upon their property, correct?
Absolutely.
And how do they find out about that information?
So you could go to cityofargo.com/planning or /NRI. That stands for Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative. Gate City Bank just gave us a $2 million line of credit to give low interest loans. These are 2.5%, and you can loan up to $75,000 for home improvements, and you pay it back over 10 years.
So whether you want to redo your kitchen, finish your basement, put on a garage, reshingle, whatever it is, they can get a super low interest loan through the city.
Absolutely. And so we'd love to work with you. We just rolled out the program a week or two ago, and boy, the applications are coming in. We'd love to set it up.
And how old does the home have to be?
Over 40 years. 40 years or older.
Over 40 years. Perfect. Dan Mahli, City of Fargo, thanks so much for joining us. Folks, in the meantime, head to livefargomoorhead.com to check out some of these great homes Dan and I were just talking about.
Thanks. Merry Christmas, everybody.